Echo, 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 echo.
Color commentary says that was stupid.
And it looks like we are live.
Looks like it.
And kicking.
Indeed.
Yep. So, we are talking about the bridges of the Hudson River. America's Rhine. I think that is it.
I didn't think the Hudson River had that nickname.
Something like that, because of the Hudson River painters. They're comparing it to the Rhine River. There's some, I can't think of the specific nickname, but then again, that's why we have the internet.
Yep, I've heard that as well, but
America's Rhine, New York's Hudson River Valley. And I can try to tell you why they came up with that name. Probably because of the scenery alongside the river, like the Hudson River Highlands, and you go up, and it's still nice homes along the way and things like that. So
yeah, I can see that. Well, hi everybody. Welcome in. Tonight we're going to be doing a webinar presentation on the bridges of the Hudson River, featuring the Capital District and Hudson Valley regions of New York State. Let's quickly meet our panel tonight. We've got Doug from Gribble Nation.
Hello.
We have Roadway Whiz from Gribble Nation. Also, imagine that. Hi, folks. We have Steve from Alps Roads.
And possibly Gribble Nation someday.
I know Steve wants to get in on that Gribble Nation stuff too, I think.
Yeah.
And we have Josh from Bill's Mafia, who I'm sure is very happy.
Hell
right
yeah,
now.
Go Bills.
Yeah, go Bills.
So we've got a lot to cover tonight, so we'll get right straight away into it. This presentation was put together with information from the sources that you see on your screen right now. Chris Jordan's Capitol Highways site, Steve Anderson's NYC Roads site, Historic Bridges of the Hudson Valley, and also Bridge Hunter.
Yeah.
And
that historic Bridges of the Hudson Valley website, very, very informative.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They oftentimes work in conjunction with the State Bridge Authority on presentations and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in their archive. The vast majority of the photography in this slideshow will be mine. You might see the odd picture or rendering that isn't, but I will do my best to point those out as we go. But basically, those are sites that you can check out on your own time if you are interested in learning more about this subject, and I'm sure there's stuff that's worth reading about that we're not going to mention tonight. So definitely recommend you guys checking those sites out at some point. Let's take a moment to meet the agencies behind the bridges that we're going to be talking about tonight. We'll talk about two major agencies as part of this presentation. We'll start off with the New York State Thruway Authority. It was formed in 1950. Its jurisdiction includes two bridges spanning the Hudson River south of Albany. We'll talk about both of them tonight. The Thruway system includes a nearly 500-mile-long main line stretching from the city of New York north to Albany and west to Pennsylvania and east to Massachusetts. And there's also some extensions and connectors thrown in there for good measure. Thruway.ny.gov is a good website to look at. look at if you're interested in more information about things such as service areas, toll schedules, roadway statuses, and a whole lot more. We also have the New York State Bridge Authority, which is an agency formed in 1932 to oversee the construction and operations of a series of tolled bridges spanning the Hudson River and the Hudson Valley. There are 5 of these toll bridges between Metro New York City and the Capital Region. Its jurisdiction also includes a section of Interstate 84 and the immediate approaches to the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, including exits 39 and 41. And it is also the owner and maintainer of the Walkway over the Hudson pedestrian bridge in Poughkeepsie. However, the operations of that bridge, as we'll talk about when we come to that, are performed by the Walkway over the Hudson not-for-profit. Website for this agency is nisba.state.ny.us. Again, useful website for information that you might need to know about these crossings before you travel in the area. Alright, let's get right into it. We're going to start our journey southward on the Hudson in beautiful Waterford and Troy. And this bridge, the Troy-Waterford Bridge, carrying US 4 over the Hudson. Doug, what do you want to say about the old Union Bridge?
Now, the old Union Bridge was a covered bridge and is actually at the length of 797 feet. It was initially built by the famous builder Theodore Burr in 1804 for $50,000. However, at the time of its construction, it was not covered, and actually put a roof on the bridge in 1814. The tolls in 1814 were 13 cents for a vehicle with 2 horses, 10 cents for 1 horse, and 2 cents for each pedestrian. The bridge actually burned on July 10th of 1909.
Which required the construction of the bridge that we see today, I believe, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
That bridge is the replacement span for that old Union Bridge. Being a fan of covered bridges as well as, other types of bridges as well as truss bridges, that would have been an impressive, actually that probably would have been the longest bridge in the U.S. for covered bridges.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I think the longest one is in Ashtabula County, Ohio, and that's the, I want to say the Smolin Gulf Bridge, and I want to say that's 600 feet and change.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So the 1909 bridge was built by the Phoenix Bridge Company. They are famous for building a lot of railroad trusses, roadway truss bridges, all over the world. They were based out of Pennsylvania. They built roughly over 4,000 bridges during the course of their lifetime. One of the more unfortunate incidents in their company's history is that they were contracted to build the first attempt of the Quebec Bridge, which, as we may know, collapsed spectacularly in 1907. Yet, despite this setback to their reputation, they continued to be very productive and prosperous right on up through the 1950s. And they are responsible for this bridge and a lot of other bridges of similar appearance across the Northeast. As we look at these pictures, this bridge has the feel and the appearance of what you might see on the upper Delaware River. Just the truss design, and the Hudson in this area is not very wide at all. As we'll see, it'll widen out to as much as 3 miles at its widest point. But here, it's relatively modest. If you had told me that this was on the Delaware River, I might have believed you, without telling me the name of the bridge or the location. You just showed me the picture. I might have believed you if you said it was on the Delaware. All right. Next, 112th Street.
A pretty lackluster bridge, relatively speaking, but...
Well, yeah, when you look at it, this is going to be one of the more dull contributions to the list as we work our way down the river. This is a significant location, though, for early settlers. And as we know, the American Revolution kind of, reached a turning point roughly in this part of New York. Is there any significance to this bridge that we should mention other than the fact that it's there?
Well, it is the only bridge that connects Troy with Cohoes, which Banshake Island is in Cohoes. And if you go to the western end of the bridge, there's a old placard that basically states that it was once a toll bridge in its early days.
What was the design of the old bridge?
The design of the old bridge was a Warren Deck Truss bascule bridge.
Oh, okay. So
It was
movable
built
bridge.
in 1922.
Okay.
I'm looking at Bridge Hunter right now. I'm cheating.
That's okay. We do that a lot. Yeah, and then this came along much more recently. This
Right, I think it was built in the built in the 90s.
Yeah, 1996 is the current bridge.
okay.
Yeah, but if you go to the Bridge Hunter website, it actually has pictures and renderings of the old bridge.
Yeah, I should have looked into that more before I did this slideshow, but thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, all the more reason to check that website out after this presentation's over, because, I'm going to skip over a bunch of stuff I'm sure that's worth mentioning.
Right.
So that's the story with that one. Collar City. Moving right along.
Yeah.
Josh, the floor is yours.
Okay. The Collar City Bridge is the newest location of a Hudson River crossing, having opened in 1981. It was always intended as a part of the interstate system. The original intent for this bridge was actually to be an eastern extension of my Interstate 88, and until probably the late 1980s, it was on the state highway logs as Interstate 88. Since, as you may know, Interstate 88 never made it east of us, Schenectady. Interstate 787 was put on the bridge to have the bridge on the interstate system.
And this is coming from our discussion the other day, but Interstate 787 originally extended a bit north from the bridge toward up what is now New York 787. It was truncated to this point once they determined this is where the bridge would be, whether or not it was going to be 88 or 787. And then once they built it, they routed 787 across it.
And also it is the northernmost bridge on the Hudson that crosses at sea level. Just north of the Collar City Bridge, you have the Federal Lock, which is basically the northernmost point of navigation on the Hudson River, essentially without... Well, they obviously have the Champlain Canal north of there, but it is, basically it's the head of navigation, so to speak. Because,
yeah.
the Hudson River's tidal estuary south of that point.
Right. Was there any pressure to, maybe not pressure, but any desire to route 787 over this bridge because they had built it with interstate funds? So it kind of had to carry something?
My understanding is yes, but I have not been able to track that down. But and I have what I can gather is that yes, being as it was constructed with interstate funds, they kind of had to put interstate on it.
Right. Yeah.
And 787 was a logical choice.
Why have they not put an interstate on the 7 freeway? They could have done that as well.
That I have not found an answer to that actually, but my assumption is that state it was unnecessary, being as they already had a number for it. So, but yeah, I haven't found any reasoning for why ever became a 687 or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can see our next bridge from the Collar City Bridge as you're driving into Troy, and that's the Green Island Bridge. We had a somewhat spectacular collapse on our hands with the old bridge that I'm sure Doug or Josh is willing to tell us about.
Yes, I actually wrote an article about the Green Island Bridge. What happened, and this is also part of why the Collar City Bridge was built when it was. Back in 1977, the bridge actually collapsed due to flooding. There was actually at one point there was a so basically what happens, they noticed that the bridge was starting to collapse, so they actually closed the bridge so no traffic could cross the bridge, and about 4.5 hours later the bridge actually collapsed into the river, including the 85-foot lift tower. And at the time it carried 22,000 vehicles per day, including a lot of people going to and from a Ford automotive plant that was in Green Island at the time. So what happened was, when that bridge collapsed, they built a new Green Island Bridge, and also they sped up the construction of the Collar City Bridge at the same time. And this is a bridge, probably I would say one of the more easily accessible bridges for photos along the Hudson.
Yes, there are lots of excellent photo spots for it, especially on the Troy side.
Would you guys consider this to be Troy's quote-unquote signature bridge?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it is viewed as Troy's signature bridge. It features somewhat prominently into street art. Actually, underneath the eastern end of the bridge is a piece of street art called Troybot, which imagines the Green Island Bridge as a transformer, sort of. That transforms in a saves Troy after a flood.
Also, at one time, This bridge actually, the Green Island Bridge actually carried rail across the Hudson River as well until 1963.
Yes,
the
there has been
bridge.
a bridge on the spot for a very long time. The current bridge is the third or fourth on the spot, and the airline heading into it was originally the line connecting to the Hoosic Tunnel in Massachusetts. So, yes.
All right. This is a nice bridge to photograph from the air. There's a lot of different things you can do with some of these bridges, and
and I want to say this is the only life bridge meaning over the Hudson River.
Right, we're the only remaining one.
Yeah, the only active.
Yeah,
bridge,
it's definitely one of the last in the region, no doubt.
I think it is the last in the Albany area, actually.
Yeah. There used to be another one downstream from here.
Yes.
We'll come to that one in a couple of minutes. But real quick, the next one, Congress Street. Again, another plain girder span. This one connects into the south side of Troy. It replaced an older swing bridge from about 1913. This current bridge opened in 1970. The east end of this bridge dumps into what's known as the Ferry Street Tunnel, which runs right underneath a couple blocks of South Troy.
Russell Sage College, in particular.
And then connects with Waterford on the west side of the Hudson. And, the other name I've seen for this bridge is the 19th Street Bridge, because over in Waterford, Route 2 is 19th Street.
Mm-hmm.
It should be noted that until the Collar City Bridge opens, the Congress Street Bridge carried New York 7. This was originally how 7 crossed the Hudson River.
Right, because 7 was on what is now 2.
Yes, 7 was on what is now 2, east until 15th Street in Troy, at which point it cut up to Hoosic Street.
Yeah. And then they built Alt 7, and then they just routed 7 along the freeway.
Yep. And extended 2 in the process.
Yep. All right, Troy Manans Bridge. We were talking about vertical lift bridges being no more. We lost the Green Island Bridge in a collapse. We lost the lifting mechanism in the Troy Manans Bridge due to the fact it wasn't necessary anymore. These pictures from the Capitol Highways site show you the original appearance of the bridge when it was built in 1933. It was a vertical lift bridge. You can see the lift towers very clearly. I believe the lifting equipment was removed about 20 years ago. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, around the year 2000.
Yeah, it was 02, I think. It was removed.
Yeah. I like that old Junction 787 sign, too. That ain't there anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately,
they don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. But it's just a pretty ordinary looking 4-span truss now that the lifting equipment is gone. As it is, it's a pretty significant highway bridge. It's 4 lanes across. It runs from the south side of Troy over to the Albany suburb of Manans.
Pretty narrow for 4 lanes.
It's tight,
mind you. But one thing I have seen is that there has been, I have come across an occasional article about possibly replacing the bridge.
I have I've also
but
seen.
I haven't followed
Yeah.
too many things about that.
Yeah, I have also seen from the 1960s and 1970s. A few proposals to twin the Hudans Bridge because this was supposed to be the southern end of the unbuilt Troy Arterial, which that would have been a four-lane expressway grade road running from exit 7 of Interstate 787 up to about where the Colorado City Bridge touches down in Troy. That would have been a rerouted US 4 for most of it, but and there was a bunch of clearing done for this road, but money ran out, so it was not built.
Yeah, but that also explains the large interchange that they built.
Yes,
right?
yes, if you have ever seen that at area on a map, there's a very overpowered interchange with Interstate 787 and other interchange with State Route 2. That was all intended for the arterial.
Okay. Well, we leave Troy behind and we enter Albany with the Patron Island Bridge. Now, there actually was an island in the Hudson River that was known as Patron Island, and it occupied the area roughly where the 787 and 90 stack is located today. Gradually, over time, the real estate there was just filled in, and you can't tell that there ever was an island there.
I will add on to that, but I was saying that Patron Island and Green Island were connected to the mainland when Interstate 787 was built.
And Patron, that actually has a long history. The name itself has a long history in the the Hudson Valley area. Essentially, it was the landholder of a quote essentially a manorial estate. Originally under Dutch rule, then actually got grandfathered into when New York was a British colony, and even into the middle of the 19th century. You have like the manors, like the Livingstons, the Van Rensselaers. Basically, they had different parts of the state, and there was actually like people who like lived in the land and basically had to like pay rent to use the land, which led to the anti-rent wars of the 1840s. So that is a bit of history, to that name at least.
Yeah, so this bridge opened in 1968. It carries the section of Interstate 90 that is not tolled as it runs east to west across Albany. This bridge received a major structural improvement project about 10 years ago or so.
Yes.
Part of the reaction to the collapse of the bridge in Minneapolis along I-35W in 2007.
Right.
Those two bridges shared some similarities structurally.
And this bridge was in horrible shape prior to that renovation, to the point where I've heard anecdotes of people who worked for the state not even being willing to drive across it.
Well, I think they were built around the same time, those two bridges.
Yes.
They're built around the same time, and when the bridge collapse happened in Minneapolis, work was started on the Patron Island Bridge very quickly after that.
Yeah.
That's reaction to what happened in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, that was enough to finally scare them into doing some work on it.
Yeah. Yes, they had been talking about it for quite some time, but that really forced their hand.
Yeah.
Yes, 787 does actually connect to 87.
Yeah, south of downtown Albany.
Well,
Speaking of Albany.
Yeah, well, here at Roadway Whiz, we also like to give some love to railroad bridges, even though we can't actually drive them and get dash cam footage of the trip across. But we'll talk about the Livingston Avenue Bridge, which was built in 1902. It serves regional Amtrak service across the river from the Albany Rensselaer station nearby. It also, I believe, services some freight traffic as well. So it's a pretty significant bridge regionally with the amount of rail traffic that it serves. So you can see it's a pretty standard, straightforward swing bridge. Again, it's been in service for well over 100 years. It's also known as the North Bridge to distinguish it from a bridge that actually no longer exists, but was known as the South Bridge, and we'll come to that one shortly. There's talk around this one of replacement too, and I don't know how serious those discussions are at this point, but that is something that is on the radar.
Yeah, I can expand on that. This bridge does have a capacity limit. Even though it has two tracks, it can only hold one train at a time because it is in that bad shape. So, there isn't a lot of money to replace it, but as of right now, this is really a choke point to expanding expanding on my passenger service past Albany.
Well, and this sure as heck doesn't meet the standards for New York's effort for high-speed rail either.
No, it does not.
Right.
Yeah, I think it has a 10 mile per hour speed limit or something.
Yeah, about that much. I've taken Amtrak, west from Rensselaer. And you do have to cross this bridge fairly slow.
Yep. I remember crossing this bridge when I took the train up to Buffalo once, and it was a slow trip almost 15 years ago, and I'm sure it hasn't gotten any faster since then.
It has not, I can say.
No, I wouldn't think so. All right, here's one of the more fun installations in the slideshow. We could probably spend a 2-hour webinar just talking about this one.
Bridge to nowhere.
Here's the Dunn Memorial Bridge. I mentioned a minute ago that the Livingston Avenue Bridge is known as the North Bridge, and that's because one of the bridges that this bridge functionally replaced, the Maiden Lane Bridge, was also known as the South Bridge. And the Maiden Lane Bridge was a very similar looking bridge to the one at Livingston Avenue. I think they were built roughly around the same time. I think Maiden Lane had been around since the 1870s.
Right, the Greenbush Bridge, that had been, I think was built, I want to say in the 1920s or 1930s. And I've seen pictures of that bridge. That was a neat looking bridge.
Yeah, the Greenbush had an interesting shape to it.
Right. And the name Dunn Memorial, in case you're wondering, was named after Parker Dunn, who was a native of Albany, who was served in World War I. And he actually, he was killed in action, in France in World War I. And received a Medal of Honor for bravery.
Yeah. America wasn't in World War I for very long, but man, we sure lost a lot of people.
Right, and there was quite a few people from Albany who had, made their names out of it. Henry Johnson, he was from Albany, and he was regarded as one of the heroes of World War I.
Yep. For those of you driving cars, you might be interested to know that this is the southernmost vehicle bridge on the Hudson that you can drive across without having to pay a toll in either direction.
Hooray!
So, whenever Steve comes to visit me in Fishkill, he always crosses the river here.
I just swim across.
Or you just bring your canoe or whatever.
His car is actually a hovercraft.
Yeah, I've heard
and
rumors
it's amphibious.
I've heard rumors about that. What do we want to say about the South Mall Expressway?
It's interesting. It's actually pretty neat.
Yeah. This bridge is known locally as the bridge to nowhere for an obvious reason.
Well, it's a bridge to a basketball court.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so the South Mall Expressway was supposed to connect the Dunn Memorial Bridge with I-90 near
over exit
8. Yeah.
At exit 8, yeah.
And then westward, if you continued from where it ends underneath Empire Plaza, there would have been an underground interchange with another north-south highway. And most of what was planned for the South Mall corridor was not built. The Dunn Memorial Bridge being the centerpiece that actually was completed. You can see the visible stubs for this bridge today in Rensselaer if you go and check it out. They're pretty hard to miss. You can see them here in the lower right. Very interesting. There's a lot of unbuilt freeway history in Albany. You wouldn't necessarily think that for a city of that size. There's quite a lot of unbuilt roads and stuff and all sorts of stuff.
Man. As far as upstate
Yeah. I was going to say, there were scenes for the movie Salt they had decided to use the freeways around Albany for some of the scenes around Salt because of basically that it was a lot of unbuilt and interesting sections of highway.
I think I want to just leave this presentation on this slide the rest of the night. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good way to end it. Good night, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this shot. This was one of my first Albany shoots with the drone, and I took it up here after work because I was working up at exit 21B, 22 up in that area, and just came up here after my shift was over and had a good time for a little while. All right, and as we graduate to the Hudson Valley, maybe now I get to talk a little bit more.
Toll bridges, yay!
All right, it's time to get serious. Castleton, built in 1959 as part of the Berkshire spur of the New York Thruway. It is really the centerpiece of that stretch of the Thruway. It is one of the two bridges that the Thruway Authority operates across the Hudson. With the passing away of the Tappan Zee Bridge in 2017 and 18, this bridge has inherited the title of the Hold Your Breath Bridge, I think, with a lot of people.
Yeah.
They continue to screw around with it. They did a lot of deck repair work this past year. I know that there's work going on underneath that we can't see.
This bridge has been pretty much continuously under construction since I moved back to Albany in early 2016. I mean, it officially has a 65 mile an hour speed limit, but you're almost never actually able to drive it.
They didn't design this anywhere close to interstate standards, and one of the arguments has been around, can you lighten the deck enough to get a median barrier in there? And it's been done. It's been done on other bridges, but they have not been able to do it here.
Yeah, I mean, the Ice Bridge was built on the cheap. If you wanted to see what a Tappan Zee looked like, how it still had the central shoulder, this is probably where you want to go, because this is basically a smaller version of the Tappan Zee Bridge, and it hasn't really changed all that much since it opened.
Right. Of course, I think it's actually one of the least used parts of the Thruway.
I think it is the least used part of the authority system. I
live in the area. Yeah, I live in the area, and I hardly ever go over this bridge.
Yeah.
I only use that bridge if there's an accident somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Now, right immediately next door to the Castleton Bridge is the Alfred H. Smith Railroad Bridge, which was built in 1924. It was built for the New York Central Railroad. Today it's operated by CSX. This is the southernmost active railroad bridge spanning the Hudson River. It didn't used to be that, but it is as of right now. You might be wondering why the letter H is included in Alfred H. Smith Memorial Bridge, and there's a very good reason for that. Alfred Holland Smith was the president of the New York Central Railroad in the early 1900s. He was responsible for authorizing construction of a bridge between Selkirk and Castleton to better serve freight operations between New York and Massachusetts. He is not to be confused with Alfred Emanuel Smith, Alfred E. Smith, who served as the 42nd governor of New York from 1923 to 1928. I should mention real quick that Alfred H. Smith actually passed away in a horse riding accident in early 1924, just prior to the completion of this bridge, and he is the man this bridge is named for today.
I don't have too much to add on this, but I would say if you wanted to see the Castleton Bridge and the Alfred H. Smith Bridge, good place to check out both bridges is to go to Skodak Island State Park, which is on the
exactly what I was going to say, Doug. You stole my bit.
Sorry, Steve.
Stole my bit.
Yeah, if you want to see these bridges, buy a drone. Because even if you go to Skodak Island, really there aren't that many good spots to view.
Yeah, so I had a walk, and I found a place in between the two bridges. But these are much better pictures than mine. Skodak Island is off of New York Route 9J.
Yep.
Yeah, I will add. I forgot to mention this, but Castleton Bridge is the only bridge across the Hudson River tolled heading west. Every other bridge is eastbound only.
Because the railroad bridges also carry tolls for freight in both directions.
Okay, fine. And and also Alfred H. Smith Bridge is the southernmost freight rail crossing of the Hudson River. So if any freight trains on a travel from New Jersey into New England, they have to cross here.
It is a nice tandem, though, the two of them side by side.
They're not centered. Don't like it.
They are nice, though. They are nice to look at. I will say that. Rip Van Winkle Bridge spans the Hudson between Catskill and Hudson. This is now, we're into Greene County and Columbia County, respectively. Recently, this bridge was in the news because its sidewalk was expanded and rebranded as the Hudson River Skywalk, which allows you to walk across on the south side of the bridge. And I don't know, it's a nice bridge to walk across. It's not bad.
Never walked across this bridge, but growing up, this was the bridge where I usually cross the Hudson, going on trips between Long Island and our place in the Catskills. Well, just outside the Catskills. But one thing is, and Dan might be getting to this, is that if you look on the east side of the Hudson, you will see Olana, which is a estate of one of the Hudson River painters, Frederick Church.
Yep, Frederick Church lived in Olana. Yeah, Olana is one of the more striking and groundbreaking architectural achievements.
Right, and I think it's based off Spanish architectural designs.
Yes, Spanish and Middle Eastern.
Yes.
Yep, a lot of Middle Eastern influence. This bridge helped give birth to NISBA itself. The agency had been formed in the early 1930s to operate a series of toll bridges across the Hudson River, and the first one to come under its jurisdiction was the Rip Van Winkle Bridge when it was completed in 1935. You might be wondering who Rip Van Winkle is. Now, normally bridges are named for real-life people. They are named for geographic features. They might even be named for groups of people, or in some cases they're named to commemorate a certain event of some kind. Nope, that's not what we have here. We don't have any of those. The author Washington Irving was a longtime resident of the Hudson Valley. He is most known for his short stories, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is a Halloween-themed story, and the story Rip Van Winkle. And the title character of that story adorns the name of this bridge. Irving himself lived in Tarrytown for a lot of his life, and that was actually the last place he lived before he died.
And there's a cliff in Honesdale, Pennsylvania now named after him as well.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, I recently actually found out about that over the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was driving around and wound up in Honesdale. I'm like, Irving Cliff. I'm like, and I saw, storyboard that they had there was named after Irving, actually named after Irving by the head of the Delaware and Hudson Canal.
Hmm. You can see the Catskills in the distance.
Yes, and then on the west side of the bridge, you have the Thomas Cole House. He was another one of the Hudson River school painters.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with him, but you're right. He's another one.
Yeah, I've been to his house as well.
You've been to everybody's house. You're a popular guy.
I come to their houses.
You just invite yourself over, huh?
Yeah.
All right. What's in a name? Here's a good study for you. Kingston Rhycliffe Bridge. It doesn't go to Kingston. It doesn't go to Rhycliffe either. Well, so what happened? Well, a couple of different things. The original site for this bridge was actually a few miles south of where the bridge currently stands. It was originally intended to connect directly with the city of Kingston over by Kingston Point, where the river is significantly narrower, and it would have, on the eastern end, tied in directly with the village of Rhycliffe, directly across. Through a bunch of political decision-making and engineering studies, the site of the bridge was eventually relocated about 4 miles north to the site that it occupies today. Now, that also did have ramifications on the choice of design. because the design you see that was built here was not the original design envisioned for Kingston Point. And in fact, I can show you on this slide a couple of the early proposals for the Kingston Point location. Both of these were submitted by renowned engineer David Steinman, who has a career portfolio that is simply breathtaking and incredible.
Right.
He is most known probably for the Mackinac Bridge in Michigan, but his portfolio extends worldwide to many other landmark bridges.
The Deer Isle Bridge in Maine is another one that he designed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also part of the Thousand Islands Bridge.
That's right, yeah. The ones up that way.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm curious if this had been built along this location. It looks like the east end would have tied into Rhycliffe Road, ultimately, whether going into Rhinebeck or around Rhinebeck. The western side, it's shown curving north, so perhaps linking up with the US 9W freeway. I wonder what freeway plans there were for either or both sides. Would I-587 have been rerouted into this bridge, for example?
Yeah, I don't know if they were thinking that far ahead as far as connecting freeways, because this would have been early 50s, I think, when this was being batted around.
They were planning at that point, so they should have had an idea of what was coming.
Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting question. But you're right. On the Rhycliffe side, it would have led into what is basically a state reference route, which leads you directly into Rhinebeck Center. So I'm assuming that had the bridge been built there, Rhinebeck would look pretty different than it does today. So I'm sure the northwestern Dutchess County would have been affected in some form or another. And again, the Kingston side, with it tying in directly to the city of Kingston, I'm sure that would have changed things as well. But I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to see the suspension bridge for this site, because that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, even the other designs that I'm seeing, that would have been a nice design as well.
Yeah, that's a neat looking arch truss concoction there.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty cool too. But as it is, the bridge that we got was engineered by Mr. Steinman. It was one of his last projects that he engineered. This one and Mackinac were his two final ones. It's a pretty simple underdeck truss, nothing special, but the combination of the high cliffs at each end of the bridge and the geological subsurface conditions, easy for me to say, rendered the suspension bridge option that we saw on the previous slide impractical. So they went with a more straightforward deck truss option, and it works. It's not, it's nothing special, but it more than does the job it's asked to do. Yeah, another nice view of the Catskills from here. All right, folks, we're almost there. We're at Poughkeepsie now. Let's talk railroad bridges one more time. This bridge, if it had been built today, it would have been an impressive achievement. It's almost 7,000 feet long. It was one of the largest bridges carrying railroad traffic in the world when it opened in 1889. It received several upgrades and modifications in the early 20th century. A project centered around the year 1907 saw major changes made. A third row of girders and truss work was added running down the center line longitudinally of the bridge to strengthen it. as locomotives and trains continued to get heavier into the early 20th century, this bridge was upgraded to support the heavier loads. Post World War II, rail traffic started to tail off. It was gradually becoming more irrelevant. Selkirk was becoming the main hub and crossing point for the Hudson in this general area. So this bridge was seeing less and less traffic. And then this obviously culminated in the fire of May 8th, 1974, which saw a significant section of the bridge burned. The deck of it burned, about 700 feet of it or so. Long story short, funding never materialized to restore the bridge for traffic. The bridge's owners diverted the remaining rail traffic to other locations, so there was never any motivation to really put the bridge back into service for on its original purpose. Here in this picture in the lower right, you can see the fire. Considered to be one of the bigger events in the city of Poughkeepsie's history. People still talk about it even to this day. So what do you do with a large abandoned railroad bridge? Well, naturally, you turn it into a pedestrian bridge, and that's exactly what happened when the Walkway Over the Hudson Company opened the bridge in 2009 to pedestrian use. It is one of the largest pedestrian bridges in the world, even though it was not originally built for that purpose. It continues to be a popular destination for folks both locally and nationally.
And internationally.
Yeah, I've seen my share of international folks
it gets
stopping in.
a lot of international traffic. It's a bridge is also a state park, and it is the second most visited site in the state park system.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we even had a road meet that part of the meet was to go to the Walkway of the Hudson on opening day in October 2009.
Wow.
Did that. So you got to see, the views of the next bridge, the Mid-Hudson Bridge, and then after that we went to see the construction for exit 17 of the Thruway.
Oh yeah, because that was still being
Same
built.
time.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, this is a pretty sweet place to visit. There is an elevator now, so you can access the deck from the Poughkeepsie waterfront more directly. You don't have to go to either end of the bridge. You can just go to the waterfront elevator, although it's been closed this year because of COVID. But under normal conditions, you would be able to access the deck a lot easier from the Poughkeepsie waterfront. No, the fire itself was deemed accidental. There were a combination of different things going on there. There was a lack of maintenance on the deck. There was a reduced fire watch because of budget problems. The Poughkeepsie Fire Department was slow to respond to the fire. You had a lot of different things coming together there that unfortunately led to a giant mess that really didn't have to happen. But people ask, well, what would have happened to the bridge had the fire not occurred? And probably the same exact result would have ended up happening. The bridge would have been taken out of service at some point because it was being passed over in favor of Selkirk and Alfred Smith as the main river crossing. And eventually would have closed, and it probably would have ended up like it is today as a pedestrian bridge.
This line didn't really feed into any of the major rail lines on either side of the Hudson, so it was sort of hard to access.
Yeah,
which added to the issues.
Yeah, the Maybrook line really lost a lot of its significance after World War II as travel patterns changed. So
yes.
it was kind of inevitable from the 50s onward that this was going to be the end result. But one bridge in Poughkeepsie that has never been taken out of service and continues to be with us to this day is the next one immediately downstream, the Mid-Hudson Bridge. This one opened in 1930. It's another fantastic addition to the suspension bridge portfolio. We talked about David Steinman when we talked about the Kingston Rhycliffe Bridge. This gives us an opportunity to talk about Ralph Majewski, another renowned engineer. He's one of my favorites because he's of Polish descent. Structural engineer, most known for, again, a wide portfolio of large-scale bridge projects in the early 20th century. The Ben Franklin Bridge in Philadelphia, the Ambassador Bridge in Detroit, even the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. That's got his name on it. He also inherited the disaster that was the Quebec Bridge. We mentioned the Phoenix Bridge Company at the start of tonight's program and how they were involved in the first effort. Well, he took over the design work and the engineering behind the attempt to build the bridge, and he ultimately succeeded with his version of the bridge, which eventually opened in 1918. Or was 17, whatever. So he's another guy who deserves quite a bit of recognition for his contributions. The Mid-Hudson Bridge itself hasn't changed all that much over the years, but its approaches have changed quite a bit. In the 1960s, the Poughkeepsie side of the river was bulldozed to make way for what is known as the arterial, which is a one-way pair of streets that feed into both the Route 9 Expressway and the Mid-Hudson Bridge from the east. 1967 also saw an all-new approach from the Highland side be completed, which basically required the blasting of the cliff side that the bridge runs into at its western end. And so those new approaches went into service in the late 60s, and those are the approaches that remain in use today. The bridge itself, however, hasn't really changed all that much over the years.
Good places to see the bridge. Call Rock Park of Poughkeepsie, Fanny Reese State Park, which is the Highland side of the bridge. Maybe you can listen to bridge music on the way, too.
Yeah, if you can't tell in the pictures,
Hudson Bridge does have a reversible lane still. After the replacement of the Tappan Zee Bridge, this is the last bridge over the Hudson River that has a reversible lane.
Yeah, that is true. It's a nice bridge to look at night, too. This one. This ain't a bad view either.
See, now you got me thinking about this. Obviously, the tunnels have reversible roadways at the very least.
Yeah, but
We're talking about bridges, Steve.
Tunnels are like underground bridges.
It's not the same, man.
I mean, if we're talking about tunnels, there is a tunnel just south of here, but shh.
And although it's no longer the Hudson, the Verrazano does now have a reversible lane, whereas it didn't before. And I know that's not the topic tonight, so I don't want to delve too far into that.
You don't want to talk about your life's work, Steve?
I could, but I would hope that there would be another venue for that.
I'm sure there will be at some point. All right. I live about 5 miles from this next bridge, the Newburgh Beacon Bridge. So let's talk about deal making real quick here. Newburgh was chosen as the site for the Interstate 84 crossing of the Hudson River. And with that in mind, it was always assumed that the Newburgh crossing would be fast-tracked to be built. However, NISBA, who had already been chosen to build the bridge at Kingston in 1957, well, it was started in 54 or somewhere thereabouts, they had already committed to building the bridge at Kingston. And so there was a bit of a back and forth, which bridge is going to prevail as far as which one should be built first. Ultimately, it was agreed that while the Newburgh Bridge was the interstate bridge, and at least in theory it would be the more important one, construction at Newburgh would not be allowed to begin until construction at Kingston had been completed. So the bridge at Kingston opened in early 1957, and pretty promptly soon after that, final design and construction of Newburgh got started. As we said, this was meant to be an interstate bridge, so you would think that the bridge that was built here originally would be wide enough to carry an interstate highway, but in fact, that is not indeed what happened. Show you on this slide. Originally, the first of the bridges was going to be a 4-lane bridge, which would make perfect sense because it was being built for an interstate, or to be able to carry interstate capacity. They were operating under the premise that the federal government would provide a certain amount of funding for this project. However, the feds chose to provide a lesser amount of funding, which meant that the 4-lane bridge was not practical financially. So as a stopgap, and they had to have known at the time that this was going to end up being a stopgap, they elected for the cheaper 2-lane bridge option. And that's what you see in the upper right photo. This bridge opened in 1963, and I would imagine that very soon afterwards, they realized, well, this didn't work very well. We need another bridge here ASAP. And so the second bridge, which was built to carry 3 lanes of traffic, was built in the late 70s and opened in 1980. Now, what makes the second bridge different from the first is that it was built almost entirely of Corten weathering steel. And you can see in the lower right corner, that's the second bridge being built, and it's got that natural rustic color to it. You'll also notice that the original bridge is painted silver, not the color that it is painted today. So when the second bridge opened and the original bridge was retrofitted and reconfigured to carry westbound traffic only, it received a paint job to match the color of the second bridge, and that's the color scheme that it has today. And as they stand today, they do a pretty darn good job of carrying traffic, at least most of the time. The eastbound bridge was redecked for the first time roughly around 2012, I want to say. And the westbound bridge deck is in the process of being replaced. That's a project that will take about 2 years to complete. And that's going to be pretty interesting to watch over the next couple of years as a local.
Yeah, but being as the westbound bridge hasn't really been touched since the eastbound span opened, so...
Yeah, so this crossing went from 1 lane per direction to 3 lanes per direction once the original bridge was retrofitted and reconfigured. So it now more resembles a standard interstate crossing. Better fitting the original intent of the crossing as opposed to the stopgap that they had built originally in the early 60s.
Does anyone want to comment besides the width of the bridges? Is anyone aware of other notable differences between the two?
I mean, you really can't call them twins. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Maybe fraternal twins.
Yeah, I mean, I know
which
that
I know way too much about that.
Yeah, they were... The second bridge was designed to mimic the appearance of the first bridge, but as I mentioned, the second bridge features weathering steel. The first bridge does not. The second bridge is significantly wider than the first. From the naked eye, you could kind of, from a distance, you might think that they're identical, but they are far from it. Also, it's worth noting that the eastbound bridge, or the second bridge, also has a walkway on it.
Excellent views from that walkway of Hudson Highlands.
Yeah, this
as
is
well.
A nice view. Yeah. I can see the finish line from here, guys. We're doing a great job.
I can see Mount Beacon from here.
Yes,
and now I can see Anthony's nose.
Oh, yes.
Yep. So, Bear Mountain. It was built in 1924 as it was, at the time, the southernmost vehicle crossing for Hudson River traffic. At least for a few years it was. It was also known as the world's largest suspension bridge for a period of time, for about 2 years. I want to say the bridge that it surpassed was the Williamsburg in New York City. And then in 1926, the bridge now known as the Benjamin Franklin was built, and it was passed there. For those of you who like hiking, you might be interested to know that this bridge also carries the Appalachian Trail across the Hudson.
The Bear Mountain did inherit from the Williamsburg, but did not have the longest span. Oh, I'm sorry, longest suspension span.
That's the criteria I'm using.
And speaking of the Appalachian Trail, this is the lowest point, elevation-wise, of the Appalachian Trail.
Actually, not technically. There is a slightly lower point in the Trailside Zoo on the west side. This is effectively the lowest point of the Appalachian Trail. And I'm answering a question. All of the Hudson River crossings are free for non-motorized traffic.
Yep. But if you like hiking but don't have the time to hike the Appalachian Trail, there's a few local trails that'll give you some excellent views of the bridge. On the east side, you have Anthony's Nose, and on the west side, you have Papalopin Torn?
Papalopin Torn and Bear Mountain itself.
I will note that Wikipedia says this is the first suspension bridge with a concrete deck. That's Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth, but it's an interesting innovation in bridge design.
Yeah, speaking of Anthony's Nose, it's actually very visible in this picture. Let's see right now, and you can actually climb to the top of this mountain and have a view looking straight across the Bear Mountain Bridge.
Yeah, I didn't include a picture of that.
It is quite the view.
But yeah, it is a really nice view. It's not as nice as the drone view, though.
It's as close as it's probably the best you'll get if you don't have a drone.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep. And really, the view from Anthony's Nose, the view from the summit of Bear Mountain, the view from the summit of Popalopan, you kind of have that drone-esque feel to that view. Although I guess at that elevation it would be more like helicopter, but you get the idea.
Yeah, but it's...
Note the historic toll house on... The historic-looking toll house, I should say, on the left, but we've moved on, so...
Yeah.
That isn't... Yeah.
The original toll house is not that one, but they did a good job being rustic with it.
Yeah, but the original toll house has been preserved. It is on the east side of the bridge, a few miles southeast, so... Yeah.
Well, folks, we've arrived at Tarrytown. We made
Or
it.
South Nyack.
We made it. We started in Troy and Waterford, and here we are in Nyack and Tarrytown. Our last
It's the
stop for
Tappan
the
Zee
evening.
Bridge, capiche?
Yeah, so let's talk about this bridge. Obviously, it no longer exists. It did its job for about 63 years or so. It opened in December 1955 as one of the final links in the New York State Thruway. This bridge is located in an odd spot for a couple of reasons. One, the subsurface conditions are absolute garbage. And we'll come back to that in a second. But it's usually you don't build bridges intentionally at the widest point of a river. That's just not good business practice. Here, however, the Thruway was kind of forced into doing so. They wanted to locate the bridge further south in a much narrower part of the river. However, doing that option would have brought the bridge within the radius of the New York and New Jersey Port Authority's jurisdiction, which would have meant that the Port Authority would have assumed operations and ownership of any bridge that was built in that area. The Thruway didn't want that. They wanted full autonomy on this decision-making for their own bridge. So they located the bridge as far south as they possibly could while staying out of the Port Authority's jurisdiction. And I think if you actually look at a map, where the bridge touches down in Tarrytown is within a few hundred feet of the north edge of the radius of Port Authority influence.
Yeah, it's like just outside of the...
Yeah,
it
was.
So.
Yeah, it was right. They did the best they could to put it as far south as they could, literally. It was pretty clever of them. The other major issue with this location was the subsurface, and you could not reach bedrock in the 1950s using the technology that they had available. If the bedrock was, say, 300 feet deep in a lot of spots, which is what it was in this case, or if it was as deep as 700 or 800 feet in some parts of the river, towards the midpoint of the river, as it is here. So engineers kind of had to make this one up as they went along. They used what are known as buoyant caissons, which basically float within the sediment, and their location in the depth of the sediment is determined by the amount of air that's pumped into the chamber and the amount of water that's pumped into the chamber. So you basically create something that can stay stay suspended basically within the solids around the structure. Very interesting technology. However, it had never really been used on a large scale before, and I think we kind of figured out why that is, because it just became impossible to maintain. It was just one of those things that was just not workable. So pretty much, I mean, as far back as the 80s, there was talk of getting rid of this bridge in favor of something more sustainable.
Well, the other thing is that the steel, when they were building the bridge, there was a steel shortage. And they basically used whatever steel they could. In my understanding, it wasn't the best quality steel that they could have used because of actually the shortage was caused due to the Korean War.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it was supposed to have a 50-year lifespan, so there was some urgency to get the bridge replaced about 10 years before it was actually replaced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you look at the truss of this bridge, it does look a little lean compared to other cantilever bridges of similar size. It does look like they were holding something back. And again, that might just be down to steel shortages. It might be down to the idea that they wanted to build a lighter structure because they weren't necessarily sure what was going to happen with the buoyant caissons underneath. It could be a combination of both. But this was a bridge that the Thruway knew they had to throw together in a hurry, and they did it, and unfortunately it came with a price that it was not a very durable or long-lasting structure. It barely made it to year 60. Here are a couple of other views for you. It's an interesting structure because, they stopped building bridges like this right around the time that this bridge was built. So this is really kind of the last of its kind, for better or for worse. But in the days after it was closed down, it was pretty neat to be able to kind of explore this thing and take it all in before the crews came in to start taking it all apart. I mean, there really wasn't much of a debate as far as what the future of this bridge was going to be. It was going to be replacement from day one, and I mean, certainly when they realized the amount of work that was going to be needed just to keep it functioning for another 50 years, they very quickly moved away from the rehab and refurbish option. I got to climb a bridge one day. Isn't that cool? What about this bridge on the left here?
It's the Tappan Zee Bridge, capiche?
One name I had seen floated for it, which I liked, which of course they didn't use, was the Pete Seeger Bridge. Pete Seeger was big in the conservation efforts around the Hudson River, and the Hudson Valley. But they went with a different gentleman instead.
So who is this Mario Cuomo fellow? So he was the 52nd governor of New York. He served in office from 1983 through 94. He passed away in 2015. He is also the late father of the current governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who is serving right now in his third term of office. He was first elected in 2010, and he is currently governor number 56 in the history of the state of New York.
And Mario Cuomo was once an outfielder in the Pittsburgh Pirates system.
I thought that was so cool when I read about that. I had no idea that he was a minor league baseball player. And I think there was
Castro.
I think there was some kind of injury that took him out of playing, if I remember correctly.
Yes, basically, he was struck in the back of the head by a pitch.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And they didn't have helmets at the time, so he was hospitalized, and I think his family didn't really want him to have a baseball career, so that was enough to say, well, time to try something else, and it led to the naming of this bridge.
Yeah, his parents came to him and said, "Son, go have a bridge named after you instead."
Yeah.
This bridge was built from 2013 through 2019 under a joint venture consisting of 4 major contractors. The lead contracting companies were Floor, American Bridge, Granite, and Trailer Brothers. Lead design was provided by HDR in conjunction with Buckland and Taylor. Quality control was provided by yours truly's engineering firm. Oversight and other engineering services were provided by a certain someone else's engineering firm. If that person wants to come forward. I mean, he doesn't have to, but, you know.
He doesn't have to. He's involved in a little bit of another discussion about the previous bridge, and it brought to mind something that the same firm is doing on the Pulaski Skyway for NJDOT. NJDOT had similar issues here. Now, the Pulaski Skyway was a bit better built than the Tappan Zee, stronger steel, Depression era, so they wanted to employ people, they wanted to spend the money. That said, it was coming to the end of its life, and they were evaluating tearing it down and building a new one. They were evaluating building a parallel span and converting the old one to a linear park, which was suggested in chat. And they ultimately decided they would refurbish it, rebuild the deck, put in the barrier, do what they could to make it as nice as possible for roadway traffic. They did all that, and as soon as they tore off the deck, they realized that the beams were coming off with the deck, that essentially what they couldn't see was that everything had rotted through. So instead of this just being a spot refurbishment with a deck replacement, it turned into literally replacing every member of the Pulaski Skyway, just about, from end to end. And that's why they're on contract, I think, 7 or 8 out of 10 or 11 now, still ongoing on the Skyway, when it was supposed to be a 2-year job from, I think it was 2013 to 15 or 12 to 14. And it's never ending for that reason. The Tappan Zee, they would have gone in knowing it would take that level of effort to preserve it, as opposed to the Skyway where they were surprised by it. But just seeing what it's taking for the Pulaski Skyway, which doesn't even carry trucks, there's no way that it made any sense to keep the old Tappan Zee Bridge around.
Yeah. And look, this bridge was built to be multimodal and very flexible. It was also meant to look very good at night, as we see here. This is basically the same angle on 4 different evenings. If you stop by in Tarrytown on any particular night, you might see a completely different look for this bridge, depending on when you catch it. I'm partial to the orange because that's my favorite color. But it can
I like when it looks like a suspension bridge instead of a cable stayed bridge.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it look like that before. But it is pretty sharp looking at night, that's for sure. I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with the electrical work. And I'm being serious when I say that. But as I said, yeah, multimodal. So it's got, each span has 4 lanes per direction. Since 2020, the bus lanes have been fully operational. There's a bus lane in each direction. There are full-width shoulders on both the left and the right now. There is a shared use path which can accommodate pedestrian and bicycle traffic, and that is located on the westbound span. Also, the main span substructure and superstructure are designed to be able to accommodate additional loadings related to future rail traffic that can be added. And it would basically, in case you're wondering where they would put that, because, gee, it doesn't look like there's a space for rail right now, but it would go right down the middle like this. There would be a third deck in the middle, in between. And basically what would happen is that you have basically a pair of V's right now for the towers, the twin spans anyway. So you basically would fill in this middle, and this would be more cables coming out in the center like this. So you basically would have a W shape. That's a horrible rendering of it, but I hope you get what I'm talking about. You basically close up this middle space here. This becomes your housing for your additional planes of cables that would support the rail deck in the middle. The foundations have already been designed to support the extra loadings from the rail deck, should it ever be built. So it's a pretty forward-thinking design. And I don't know that it's ever going to be needed. I don't know if the rail concept is ever going to come to fruition. But it's been engineered to be able to withstand loadings that are not yet present, which is, again, a pretty smart idea. Engineers are pretty smart dudes and ladies. So again, I mean, you look at this bridge and you compare it to its predecessor, and it's night and day. And I know that those of you who have driven it would probably say the same thing.
Yes, I don't miss the old
yes.
bridge.
Yeah, especially now that everything is finished and everything is fully operational. Yeah, I mean, there's just no comparison. So, well, we're gonna.
The main difference I would note with the new bridge, as a frequent user living near it, is it's so much flatter.
Yes.
It's significantly lower in the main span, and or not significantly lower, but the grade is significantly more gradual up to there. So it really doesn't feel like you're climbing that high.
Which makes it a lot easier for trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grade on the Rockland approach that you see here is about 1.5%. And that was engineered that way because that's the maximum grade permissible for commuter rail trains.
Yep.
So they had to keep rail traffic in mind, even though they weren't building this bridge initially in year 0 for rail traffic. See, again, that's the forward-thinking mentality. But again, going back to what you said about truck traffic and grades and all that stuff, yeah, that definitely helps in that regard, too. It doesn't feel like you're going up 150 feet. Hey, folks, we reached the end of the slideshow. Congratulations. Gives yourselves a round of applause.
Yay!
All right. That's all she wrote, folks. That's all we got PowerPoint-wise. Guys, gals, any questions you might have? Now's a good time to throw them at us. We'll do the best we can to answer them for you.
Matthew Wong asked about enforcement of the bus lanes. I have seen one person use the bus lane. It was at the very end. They pulled into it a little bit ahead of the US 9 exit, but do we know anything about the bus lane? I've never even been there when there's been a bus in the bus lane, for that matter.
I mean, I've seen buses in the bus lanes, but every time I've been there hasn't been enough traffic to consider using them.
I will say that Troop T of the State Police, they kind of like to hang out on this bridge. So I wouldn't try anything funny if I were you.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
what's the speed limit again?
It's 55.
Officially, it's 55, but
What does Troop T think the speed limit is? That's the important question.
Good question, because I've never been.
I will
pulled
not
over by them.
advertise that because this is a public forum, but
Well, there's a nice spanking new police facility in Terrytown that was built. as part of
yes,
the,
and as I saw, and I was there 2-3 weeks ago, there were cops all over the place.
yeah. 'Cause they
Ashing
used to
in
be,
the
yeah, they used to be located
pedestrian
in,
walkway. So
yeah, they were located originally in West Nyack at exit 12, but the new
Yes.
facility that you see in Terrytown was built as part of the project, as well as the vastly improved maintenance facility now in Terrytown, which was again an upgrade over what was originally at Exit 12. And I think they still have a presence at Exit 12, but this facility is a lot more up to date. So yeah, I mean, listen, this project really addressed a lot of deficiencies from an operations standpoint, not just the obvious ones that we are immediate to think of. Do we want to watch video, or do you guys not care?
You can probably watch a few.
Yeah, because I got a lot here. There's no way in heck we're gonna get to all of it, but I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys a few. We can kind of work our way south like we did a little while ago. Let's start with Green Island. It's funny, up until I started working in the Albany area, I didn't have video of several of these bridges. Green Island being one of those. But I do like this one. It's got a neat look to it.
Yes, it was open. I haven't seen it open, even though I live a few blocks away. But it does open. This bridge actually was rehabbed, I think, in 2018. So
Right.
It's in pretty good shape still.
Yeah, I have never seen that bridge open. I live actually a few miles away from the Green Island Bridge. And I've never seen that bridge open.
Well, here's a bridge that you don't have to worry about opening, because there's no opening mechanism for it.
Because
on the flip side, you have to worry about driving off the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
But coming in the opposite direction.
Yeah. This is a neat drive. If you're into roads and bridges and all that, take a drive on the South Mall Expressway, starting in Rensselaer and heading across the river.
Under the egg is the best part.
Yes.
Yeah.
They Might Be Giants have a song about the egg. It's called The Egg. The Egg's actually a concert hall. It has great acoustics.
Yeah, I've never been to a concert there, but I hear really good things about it. By the way, Steve, the Jets won.
I'm very disappointed in them. They fail at losing.
But hockey's coming back officially, so I'm pretty happy.
Can't wait to be disappointed in hockey as well.
Yeah, well, it is hockey, so I usually get disappointed too. So.
Well, Lundqvist is out for the year, so the Rangers dodged a bullet by deciding not to renew him.
You think?
Yeah, heart issues, from what I'm told.
Whoa, really? When did this come out?
Like a few days ago.
Wow, I missed that.
Poor Henrik.
Yeah, the Stably Cap is furious that he's not playing.
Well, he didn't. Did he ever have COVID?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, probably not. Now here's the South Mall. The inner tunnels were intended for the expressway part, which is why the outer tunnel has the driveway entrances.
Yes, and if you go under those tunnels, you can see they have lane markings for the highway.
I didn't know they were striped. Is that right?
You look closely enough.
Mm.
Oh, yes, they are.
Okay. Rip Van Winkle. I'm just picking at random here. If you guys have a particular bridge you want to see, just shout out the answer whenever you know it.
I've seen them all, so
I know you've seen them all.
I've seen them all as well.
I meant that comment more for the live chat, but because I know you guys have all seen them.
Yep, and driven them in multiple types of weather conditions. You know, the last time I was at the Rip Van Winkle Bridge was a very foggy day, and I saw lots of ships.
Oh yes, I was there too, actually.
Yeah, come to think of it, I was there too.
Steve was not there.
I'm angry.
Yeah, that makes all of us angry.
Yeah.
I always like the look of the trusses on this bridge. They're pretty. They look pretty different from most bridges.
AJ wants to see the Mid Hudson Bridge. Actually, I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
I think that's a great choice. You know, AJ, you are on the ball tonight. That is a great suggestion.
He likes orange. He likes bridges.
Man, you know.
Yeah.
See, I like this guy. I like his style.
Yeah. Mid Hudson is actually, I'd say it's one of my favorite bridges over the Hudson. I don't have a favorite bridge over the Hudson because there's a lot of good candidates.
Well, yeah, you do have quite a portfolio, as we've seen.
Yes.
So it's hard to pick one.
The
Obviously,
Rip Van Winkle Bridge, I'm probably that probably is the most nostalgia for me.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's a very neat looking bridge.
I enjoy the Bear Mountain Bridge, but I've used it so often that it's lost a little luster for me. So I kind of like the Castleton on Hudson just because I never get to take that bridge. So it's got intrigue.
Yeah, that's one that even I forget about existing, even though I, for work, had to cross it somewhat frequently.
They recently updated the interchange here. It's now a roundabout.
Oh, yeah, this is completely different, yeah.
Yeah, that was over the past couple years or so.
Yeah, this was one of the first videos I actually ever did.
Huh.
Yeah, It's that old. So that explains why none of this is here anymore, because it was filmed in 2010.
It's a vintage video.
It might as well be, yeah. All right, let's see.
And there's actually I think there was a Stewart's of this intersection too.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah,
right,
we might. Let me see.
Speaking of vintage videos, here's one of the Mid Hudson, which is just about as old as the one that we just watched. Although I don't think there are any major differences between this video and, say, one filmed today.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot that's changed here in the past.
Is that
10,
is that
15 years.
roundabout a 2-lane or 1-lane or a 2-lane roundabout?
One lane.
One lane.
Ooh. Wow.
No, you're talking about the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's 1 lane through there now.
I hate everything.
State has mostly stopped their experiment on a 2-lane roundabouts because they have had some issues with.
How about the 3-lane roundabouts on Ocean Parkway?
Oh, screw those.
Well, that's pretty much always been there though. But back when there were, traffic circles.
Yeah. Yeah, those the ones you're talking about on Ocean Parkway, they are not any fun to try to navigate in the winter, let alone in the middle of the summer season.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem, but I've never been there with people.
Yeah, so.
Well, that helps if you're not there, when there's people there. But yeah, those are a little shady. So this is I was mentioning how they built a new approach from Highland, and this is what we're on right now. you can't really tell just yet. As you round this curve, you can tell just the amount of rock blasting that had to be done to put this in. I mean, this is some, like, grade A ADHS corridor blasting that was going on here. And as you round the curve to the left, hey, look, you have a bridge.
Hey.
Hooray, bridge!
Hot darn.
And the old bridge approach, I think, is now the walkway over the Hudson parking, or one of the sites for
Goes
that.
to it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's nowadays signed as Haviland Road, which, yes, you can access the parking for the walkway there. And if you follow the road all the way to the end, it ends right next to the Mid-Hudson Bridge at Johnson Iorio Park, which is another nice spot to catch a view or two of the Mid-Hudson Bridge. Yeah, this is a nice drive. This bridge is pretty neat. Now, as we mentioned before, this is a 3-lane deck, and there are no real dividers for traffic. So when the center lane is open, it can get a little hairy at times because these lanes aren't the widest.
Yeah, it's a tad tight if all 3 lanes are open, but
This bridge, in a couple of ways, is very similar to the Lionsgate Bridge up in Vancouver. Also, 3 lanes, a very tall suspension bridge.
Yeah, and I think it's 3 lanes undivided, right?
Yeah.
As far as, I mean, the center lane is movable, but there's no, like, zipper barrier or anything like that.
And I think we have requests for the Bear Mountain Bridge, the Castleton Bridge, and probably the old and new bridges in Terrytown.
Is that what people are chiming in the chat for?
Well, AJ chimed in about the Bear Mountain Bridge. I am making my own own requests.
Are you
yeah, bridge crossing the Hudson River at the Tappan Zee.
A couple of quick facts I want to throw in there. The Mid-Hudson Bridge is 1930. Lionsgate was 1938. Mid-Hudson main span 1,500 feet. Lionsgate main span 1,550 feet. So they are very similar bridges.
Yeah.
Same era, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lionsgate is one of the few that I would rank above Mid-Hudson as far as engineering / architectural beauty and location.
Can't beat that location.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Lionsgate is hard to top.
No, I went over that bridge in 1995.
Wow.
The Lionsgate Bridge. I wish I had pictures of it. I
Yeah.
might have pictures of it, but they're not with me. Yeah, if they're anywhere, they're in Oregon right now.
So here's another ancient video, and you can tell it's not totally recent because the exit numbers are still sequential on I-84 in this video. But anyway, this is Newburgh Beacon eastbound. This video was done a short time before the eastbound bridge was redecked. So this video was done in, I believe it would have been 2010. It would have been right in that first wave of videos for the channel. Other than the new deck, it's, it looks pretty similar today.
There isn't. This bridge looks pretty much the same as it did 20 years ago. So.
Yeah.
Do they really need a red X over the shoulder?
Well, I've seen the shoulder used as a travel lane. So.
Well, the Newburgh Beacon Bridge is also known as the Hamilton Fish. Newburgh Beacon Bridge. Hamilton Fish was involved in New York politics, I want to say the 19th century. And yes, the Angus MacDonald Bridge in Halifax. I've been over that bridge. That's a neat bridge.
1955. They had some time to copy the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go to Halifax, that's there's a couple of nice bridges there.
Yeah, the Maritimes have some neat stuff in them.
Yeah. I was planning on going there back in June, but of course couldn't because of COVID. Maybe in 2022 is what I'm shooting for. I'll be spending some time in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Now, one of the interesting developments with the redecking of the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, the westbound side, is that part of the package of that project involves the conversion of the tolling here to cashless. And so that's going to be carried out at some point during the duration of this project. So you won't have to pass through this god-awful toll plaza anymore.
I do not. But I will not miss those Range Authority toll plazas one bit.
No.
Yeah, you guys, they had to get with the 90s and stop putting gates on their tolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all of the tolls, all the toll plazas that I have ever had to pass through, the one here at Newburgh is probably tops on my list of least favorites.
Have you done all of the MTA ones in New York? Because they have the same feature.
It used to, at least.
Well, yeah. I had done all of those before. But I had never been at a toll bridge where there were more issues with just the gates not functioning or the gates not opening for whatever reason. Like the MTA bridges, I never had that problem with. But for whatever reason, the NISBA toll plazas were just hell to get through at times. And
and if you like this video more than you like going through toll plazas, remember to like the video.
Well, that shouldn't be too hard.
Yes.
But this is the westbound side of the bridge, and I bring this video up to show you the pre-reconstruction view. You're basically going to get new barriers on either side. You're going to get new overhead lane control signaling. You'll obviously get a brand new deck. As part of this, they're going to basically remove everything that was here, right on down to the bare steel. There's going to be some steel repair and repainting. They're really going to do a once around the block kind of treatment for the whole bridge while they have it. And this project, they're in the early stages of it right now. It's going to probably take about 2 full years to complete. But by the time it's finished, they will have extended the life and the service life of this bridge by at least 30 to 40 years. And again, this bridge we're on is the original bridge, the original 1963 crossing. So it is the older of the two. It has not received a major overhaul since the early 80s. So it's been due for quite a while. Hey, look, they changed the exit numbers.
There seems to be plenty of room between these two bridges for some rail.
They should build a third bridge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what are we watching next? Bear Mountain?
Bear Mountain.
Is that what we're up
Yeah.
to? See, now here's a video that combines bridge driving with scary road driving. If you've never driven...
Or very scenic road driving.
Yeah, well, if you've never driven the goat path between the Bear Mountain Bridge and Peekskill, US Route 6, this is one that you should add to your...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you should add this to your list, because it's a treat.
And the whole approach was engineered at the same time as the bridge, so it's a throwback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something else. It's hard to imagine something like this getting built today. you
And
get a
there's
nice
the bridge.
Yeah, you get a nice view coming this way. Not as nice as the drone view, but it's a nice view.
I'm used to the dawn view coming uphill away from the bridge, which you get there just the right moment as the sun is just coming up. You round the curve and just the sky and the river splay out before you in pink and gold. And it is, if I have to cross the Hudson River right around dawn, this is by far the number one bridge to do so.
Okay. Okay. Here's the trip westward. There are sidewalks on both sides, protected by Jersey barrier. You will see quite a bit of pedestrian traffic out here because, again, this is a part of the Appalachian Trail, and also this bridge also connects all of the trailheads for all the hikes that we talked about before, with all the hills and the mountains in the immediate area. Another historic-looking toll house. Again, not the original, but a faithful recreation. This is the Bear Mountain Circle at the end of this video, where the Palisades Parkway begins and US 9W comes through. What are we? Where are we at now, guys? What do we want to watch next? I'm gonna head down to Terrytown next, unless you guys have something else you want to watch.
Yeah, that works.
That works. I might say if we're doing Terrytown, I would say the old and the new bridges.
You know, once again, I like your style, man. Like you're on the same wavelength as me.
There are several people are commenting that you have choppy audio. I'm not sure that we can do anything about that.
Who's got choppy audio?
Yeah, I've seen several.
Do I have choppy audio?
It might be these people's fault.
I don't know.
Yes, I don't hear anything on my end, but maybe that's the. Of course, I'm on the Skype end, so.
I mean, you guys.
And then other people are saying it's fine.
Well, you don't hear anything, do you?
I don't hear anything because I have YouTube on mute on 3 screens actually.
Well, but you hear me fine through Skype, right?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Seems like a good idea to not test YouTube while we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen?
Feedback.
Yeah,
Feedback.
this
looks a little
video
different,
here brings me back.
right? This is a throwback.
Yeah, this brings me back quite a while.
Yeah.
Yep, you see the toll plaza for the eastbound traffic.
What's a toll plaza?
That's
In the
what
garage.
people used to pay tolls back in the before times.
Yeah.
And the
Tolls
zipper
being
lane.
I missed the zipper house.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. The zipper truck was fun to watch if you
Yeah.
if you had the chance to catch it.
I don't miss fearing for my life when I cross this bridge, though.
Yeah, no.
I have never died crossing this bridge, believe it or not.
Neither have I.
So,
Either
But
have I
I was
somehow.
always fearing for my life. Last thing I wanted to do was wind up at the bottom of the Hudson.
my biggest fear was that the steel wouldn't hold out more than 10 years past its sell-by date, as opposed to the narrow lanes with people pushing you into the shoulder.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that I haven't been in the bottom of the Hudson before, but that was way up at the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
I hiked to a place called Blue Ledges, which is near Minerva in Essex County. You do a hike. It's trails about 2.5 miles each way, and you go to this spot in the Hudson. It's basically a small beach, and there's cliffs on the other side of the Hudson. It's a nice little spot. You know, it's not very heavily trafficked trail. But it's a long way from Tarrytown.
And this is how I know that you're not from this part of New York, because I have found myself very routinely under the Hudson, especially as a child.
I think I see where he's going with that. But to answer a question from the chat, this video was from 2011. Obviously well before construction of its replacement commenced, and obviously well before my tenure with the replacement effort began. It is very interesting to look back now and watch this video, knowing what has transpired here in the last decade.
Yeah, the road was very lumpy.
Yeah, this was, yeah, you rocked and rolled quite a bit on this. Yep.
Yeah, this
There was
wasn't
quite-
a...
Yeah, there was quite a rhythm to driving across the causeway section.
In the old mileposts, the pier posts, I guess they were.
Yeah, those are pier numbers.
Yes.
By the way, one thing worth mentioning is that the pier numbers weren't exactly sequential either, because they skipped a couple of numbers in the middle. It goes like 171, 172, 173, then 175, and then 176, and then 178, 179, 180, etc. And that's one thing that I didn't really bring up in the slideshow, is that there was actually originally a different design intended for the 1955 bridge. There was a proposal for a tied arch at the site, and it's likely that the two missing numbers were originally allocated, or the piers were numbered under the original design plan for the tied arch, which would have included 2 extra piers near the center of the river. But the tied arch design got scrapped in the end, and the cantilever was chosen at the last minute, and then they just never renumbered the piers.
Wouldn't a tied arch have used less steel than the cantilever?
I don't remember exactly what the deal was, but the tied arch was passed over in favor of the cantilever. I can't tell you off the top of my head why, but there was some sort of last-minute issue.
Steel fabricators did not bid on the main span because their estimates were over the chief engineer's estimate. The cantilever was cheaper, even if it used more steel. And the cantilever span is 100 feet longer than the old arch span, and that would explain the 2 missing piers.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's from Steve Anderson's site.
See, I knew Steve Anderson would come through. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. By the way, here's, so we just risked our lives crossing the old Tappan Zee Bridge. I said in the PowerPoint that the difference between the two is night and day, and well, you can be the judge for yourself just by looking at the video, but I would say that it's pretty easy to come to the same conclusion I have.
Yeah, well, the new bridge is always smooth, like Keith Stone.
Well, I never really...
smooth like butter.
Yeah, I never really
or really bad beer.
I never really thought about it that way, but I suppose that's a way you can look at it, sure.
Yeah. Much smoother ride.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is an enormous improvement over what was here before. You know what? We had our ups and downs on this project. We had which happens on every project. I mean, there's no construction project, big or small, that is executed problem-free. But I would say that for the obstacles that we faced, and for the fact that this, was a design-build project, which introduced its own challenges into the mix, I'd say we did pretty well with what we had to work with, and this project came out pretty darn well. You know, we all gave 6 or 7 years of our lives to this thing, and it's very satisfying to see it fully finished and, you know, in use, and hopefully we don't have to come back here and build another one in our lifetimes.
It's a 100-year design or 75?
So it's billed as a 100-year service life. So hopefully I'm not going to be around when the next one gets built.
Or if you are, people are living very old at that point.
Robo-Whiz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Robo-Whiz in the year, 2150.
2150. Yeah, you know what? Somebody requested Kingston Rhycliffe. All right, so we'll pause this. We'll save this video for last. While we are working our way through, I'm going to skip this part because this isn't very interesting. This is just Route 9G approaching the bridge from the east. We're in the town of Rhinebeck. To go off topic for a minute while we have time, Josh, I'm a little surprised that you were able to join us tonight. I figured you would still be hungover from celebrating Buffalo's division title that was clinched last night.
I am a tad hungover right now, but I considered driving out to the airport last night. Decided against it.
Yeah,
but there were evidently a few thousand people there, so...
Because you're out that way, right?
Oh, yes. I'm in Buffalo right now, so...
All right, sweet.
Yep, people were shooting off fireworks when it happened. It was...
It's gotta be
quite
surreal,
insane.
You know? Because, like... 1995, like a good part of the fan base wasn't alive the last time that they won a division.
Yeah, I mean it was. I was 1 year old, so.
Yeah, like I was texting with a college friend who was 2 years old when they last won the division, and it's one of those things where like they weren't even sure how to react because it had never happened before, you know, or at least they didn't remember it. So that's going to be interesting when January comes around and the playoffs start.
Yeah, it's,
can't wait to have that packed house at Bill's Stadium. Oh, wait, they can't have any fans this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, 2020. I mean, I'm Bill's fan, but I'm also an Islanders fan. And the Islanders made the conference final for the first time in 27 years. Back during the summer playoffs, I guess you want to call them.
It was that long, huh?
1993.
For the conference finals?
For the conference final.
Wow.
And it was exciting.
Yeah, that was a heck of a run that they made. And I think they have
played Tampa
power.
very well, too. But they didn't. But Tampa, obviously, a little better than the Islanders.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Isles lost to the eventual champs, so...
Yeah, that happened in 93 as well. They lost to the Habs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But between that, the Bills being playing great, the Islanders playing great, the Mets having a new ownership.
Hooray!
Yeah, 2020 was actually a halfway decent year for me in the sports department.
Yeah, business is good in the Doug household.
Yeah.
Did somebody suggest Castleton, or am I just imagining?
That was me.
Oh, that was
someone
you?
suggested it.
That was me.
Yeah,
Because I
we're
think
allowed
also
to
Steve
suggest
mentioned
things,
that no one really ever takes the Castleton Bridge. So.
All right. Well, you all get a chance to see it right now. So we're actually going back north here. We were just in Kingston, and now we're in Castleton. But
I didn't realize I was allowed to weigh in, but I have not really been to the northernmost bridges on the list, so perhaps the top two would be my votes.
we are jumping around quite a bit now. All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna eventually show all these videos twice.
I wasn't aiming for that, but maybe that's how it's gonna shake out. So as we cross the Castleton Bridge westbound, you can see on the left the Alfred H. Smith Railroad Bridge. I mentioned how they're basically right next door to each other. And I think I mean they're right next door to each other. As we said, it's a mini Tappan Zee. I think that's kind of what we settled on.
And I was actually over 2 Hudson River bridges today.
Really? Which ones were those?
Collar City and the Waterford Bridge.
Are they almost done with the construction on the Collar City?
Pretty much. They were putting up looks like they're getting ready to put up some more new signs. Hopefully, they're better signs than what they put up about a month ago.
I saw those.
I think they will be, but
yeah.
But yeah, man, at this point, it's all signs.
Okay. So, like, the deck work is finished, more or less? Okay. So it's just those abomination signs that have to go in.
Yeah. I made a detour to Cahoes Falls this morning. Of course, I was chasing waterfalls.
Of course you were.
Before I started heading up to Washington County and wound up in a Courier Knives painting.
You have to explain that reference to me.
Yeah, Courier Knives, winter, Christmas.
Oh. I see.
Doug Fir is Americana.
Yes.
What else? What else do we want to watch that we haven't seen already?
Yeah, Troy.
You want to see the 2 up north?
I want to see the ones I don't get to see. That's my vote.
All right. So the Waterford Bridge, which was the first one that we showed.
Yeah.
In the slideshow. So this is downtown Waterford.
Yep, I actually lived in Waterford for a couple of years.
It's a nice little town.
Yeah, it is. Nice little town. If you are interested in canals, the Erie Canal starts in Waterford. The Champlain Canal starts in Waterford. There's an old trail for the old Champlain Canal, and you can also follow, all the locks through town, and that's pretty neat. But this is the Thruway Waterford Bridge, which connects Waterford with the Haddiford Supermarket. Which when I lived in Waterford, I actually would walk across the bridge to go grocery shopping.
It's New York
because it was easier to easier to do that than find parking in town.
All right, so that's the Waterford Bridge. Now we'll show you the bridge at 112th Street. All right, here we go. It connects Troy with the Cumbies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's its claim to
There's
fame.
the Cumbies right there. So.
And if you look to the left, right after the stop sign, there will be a concrete marker, and the marker actually, mentions like it was a toll bridge.
Yeah,
so actually connects Cumbies with Mr. Sub.
Mr. Sub and Stewart's.
It's the most important bridge in the state, right there.
Yeah.
I missed the marker somewhere along the way when I was through here. I never got to see it. The one you were talking about?
Yeah.
So that's that one. I don't know. I think that's about it, right? Steve has seen Collar City.
I have.
You've seen
You've
Green Island. Well, we already watched Green Island. You've seen Congress Street.
Troy Manance would be the other one.
Troy Manance.
Yeah, that's an interesting one anyway, so maybe
Yeah, the
share
viewership
that one.
like that. I've certainly
Yeah.
seen it plenty of times, but it is a fun bridge.
Which one are we talking
Yeah,
about?
Troy Manance.
That's
Oh.
from Nan's.
Yeah.
Yeah, show that for the viewers, and after that, I would say do the finale video after that.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
It's,
The
We
fun
already
part of the Troy-
yeah, because we already did South Mall. We already did Castleton and everything south of there. So, all right.
I was going to say the fun part of the Troy Manans Bridge is everybody goes 60, 65 over it into Troy and then has to slam on their brakes.
Oh,
down.
yes.
Yeah, because it's 30 miles an hour as soon as you hit Troy.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's 30 miles an hour for the bridge itself,
It technically is, but
but no one cares.
Yeah.
all
They
of
don't
that.
care till they get across the bridge and they realize there are cops sitting there.
Oh shit, a Troy cop.
Yeah.
Which they hang out there pretty frequently, so.
Yeah. I believe it.
Yep, there, and where's another place that Troy cops like to hang out? At the bottom of the Route 2 at the St. Mary's Cemetery, where Evers from Tinker to Evers to Chance fame is buried.
Yeah, they hang out there, and they hang out coming off of the Collar City Bridge on 6th Avenue. So.
Yeah, so now you know where to slow down in Troy.
Yeah, next
You
time you're in
don't
town.
think you learned that on from a bridge video.
See, people got a little extra. We like to give our fans a little bit extra. When they tune in. We hope that they are more knowledgeable on certain subjects after watching this video than they were before.
Yep.
So now you know where not to go in Troy if you want to
Yep.
avoid getting pulled over.
Yeah. Although speaking of Troy in baseball, the San Francisco Giants once played in Troy
Mhm.
in 1883.
They were known as the San Francisco Trojans that season.
No, the Troy Trojans. But when the franchise moved to New York, the team was renamed the Giants because of the very tall ball players from Troy.
Mhm.
So even today, the name Giants, which is where San Francisco Giants and of course the New York Football Giants, has its roots in Troy, New York.
Well, we're getting our finale video out of the way, and we have a few minutes left in this presentation before we're going to start to close up shop. But really want to thank the panel joining me on Skype tonight.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, no problem.
The Troy Trojans have the record for the lowest attendance of any Major League Baseball game at 6.
Yep.
Until
What
this
about
year.
that? Yeah, I was going to say, what about this year? Or that game a few years ago in Baltimore where they wouldn't allow fans.
Oh, yes.
See, they were playing the White Sox or something like that.
That was the Freddie Gray thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they didn't have fans for a couple of games there, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, we had no idea that was a precursor of what we would see in 2020.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to going to sporting events again. By the time I can go to a sporting event again, the Islanders will have a new arena.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Oh, yes, they will.
Yeah, the UBS Arena, which will be at next to Belmont Park. You can actually go and see. They have a live cam of the arena construction.
Oh, they have something like that?
Yeah,
That's cool.
unlike the Islanders website, the UBS Arena website as well. And I think it's going to look pretty sharp.
Yeah, from what I've seen of the renderings, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
pretty neat. Yeah, certainly an upgrade over Nassau Coliseum, and, well, just about anything would be an upgrade over the arrangements in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Oh, that
But,
sucks.
yeah, that's...
Yeah, Nassau Coliseum, great sight lines. That's about it. It was the only NHL arena that had porta potties outside.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's like, oh, I'm like, oh, go to the bathroom. We're like, oh, it's like, get like the lines, the intermission, and then at one point, someone thought it was a good idea to put porta potties out near the smoking area.
Jeez.
That's awesome.
It's like the old Six Stadium in Seattle.
Yeah.
They had porta potties out in the concourse. Yeah, the one year that the Seattle Pilots existed.
Yeah.
This is not a bad bridge to end on for tonight. And it's the highlight of any one person's career to be able to be involved in something like this for a small amount of time. I mean, I practically lived the life of a heavy civil construction guy for 7 years, and it was the experience of a lifetime. I'm the kind of guy who kind of goes, I'm always thinking about what's next, but every once in a while I do stop and think about what we accomplished here, and it is pretty special. So I hope you guys enjoy this bridge for the rest of your lives, and I hope it continues to do its job admirably well into the future. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap this up tonight. Our panel tonight was Doug of Gribble Nation. We had Steve from the alpsroads.net website. We had yours truly, also a contributor now to Gribble Nation. How about that?
Yeah, that's a new development.
That is a development.
Well, we're glad to have you aboard.
It's my pleasure. And representing Bill's Mafia out in Buffalo, we had Josh with us.
Yo.
Thanks to all of you in the live chat who tuned in and chimed in with your observations and your questions and your sound checks and all that other happy stuff. So we're going to close up shop tonight. Our next presentation will be the Saturday after Christmas. It'll be the Roadway Whiz Year in Review. So if you'd like to know what I did over the year 2020, if you didn't already know, this next coming Saturday will be a good chance for you to... hey, I wonder what bridge that is.
And one last question that we have.
Yes.
About the unique cable anchorage into the mountainside of the Bear Mountain Bridge.
Okay.
It's anchored, yes.
It is anchored.
Yes. I would say probably due to the topography of the area. That was probably how they had to anchor the cable into the side of the mountain.
Well, it was probably
Yeah, it's
advantageous
very
to do
anchory.
that because you already had the rock available to
Yeah.
do so.
Yep.
You know, that's what you do. When you're anchoring cables, you anchor them into something solid, right? Whether that
Yes.
is something natural, like a rock formation, or something artificially created, like a concrete anchor block.
Yeah.
The concept or the principle is still the same. So you're always looking for something solid to anchor into. In this particular case, the Bear Mountain had the advantage of copious amounts of bedrock in the form of either shallow formations or, Anthony's nose is one giant block in and of itself. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him that you said that.
what, that Anthony's a blockhead? probably watching too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever. No hard feelings, Anthony. But yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I guess that's the story behind that, right? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. Wrap up presentation next week. I covered that. What else? Am I forgetting anything before we sign off?
No. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yeah, we won't talk to you guys again before Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas,
Festivus. Happy
Happy
Festivus.
Kwanzaa.
have a good holiday. Yep.
Happy Haunted
Boxing
Days.
Day.
Happy Toyotathon.
All right. Speaking of Happy Honda Days, I'll pull this picture up real quick one more time.
It's not Doug Kerr's car.
The Honda Bridge.
Yeah, the Honda Bridge.
Yeah,
That's what
the
a lot
best
of people
design
know.
didn't make it, unfortunately.
That's a shame, Steve.
It is a shame.
Yep. I know you're still bitter about that.
I would never have worked on it anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I got more work by being by us being the engineers, the oversight engineers, as opposed to if they had actually selected our design. So,
no, that's interesting. Okay.
well, as mine is actually selected, as opposed to we were never able to submit the bid in the end. So, I'm not going to go into that. Our viewers can read about that if they want.
Yeah, we'll save that for some other time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for contributing, and we'll catch you for the next live stream. Coming
All
up
right.
on Saturday.
See y'all next time.
Have a good one. See you next time.
Adios.